You as a learner, we have known the information on packaging label. That was our last subtopic. The information, we got it clearly. That is the information on packaging label, how important those information are. And we realize that we have to know the quantity of a product when we know the information that is packaged on that particular product. Now, whenever you ask the importance of those information on packaging labels, just refer to the information itself and then use English to construct a very direct importance. Just like, for example, we have to know the name of the product. If you ask the importance, it helps it gives the information on the name of the product. That is an importance. It gives the information about the product quantity. That is the importance. About the uses, about the storage. Yeah, making informed decision, the right choices of the food, of the product you want to buy as a consumer. Those are the importance. Give the consumer the right or the choice to make about that particular product. Those are some of the importance. So, if I never give you the importance, kindly, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that those information can be converted to importance when you construct them in an importance text manner. Now, international system of units on basic and derived quantities. First of all, I would request you to subscribe to Kenya Science Academy as a learner, because that is one way you're gonna appreciate us. That is one way you're going to appreciate us, because we are feeding you with the information and you will score highly, you will get the information, and through that, through subscription, you are going to appreciate us. Now, international system of units on basic and derived quantities. I remember saying when I was leaving the previous session or virtual class, I talked about quantities. And I mentioned 2 kg, 3 kgs, 10 kgs. Those are quantities. And kgs are units. They are what? They are units. So we want to know international system of units. Now, this international system of units in 1971, about the conference, there were a group of scientists who came up with a conference, and they sat down and identified the weights of certain products, the measures of certain products or certain items, and realized that we need to give them units. We need to name them, give them some units. For example, time. We realize that the time is measured in hours, time is also in minutes, and lastly, time is in seconds. So there's some group of scientists who sat down in 1971, the fourth conference they had. Remember, they had the first, the second, the third, the fourth. Now, the fourth they came up with, up with certain things called SI units. In short, SI units. So, International System of Units, abbreviated as SI, is about the weights and the measures of certain products, of certain items, or certain things that we encounter in our daily lives. Look at meters. When we want to measure length of a particular thing, we cannot say that the length is 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 50 seconds. No, that is for time. But we are going to say it is 10 meters, 5 meters, 20 kilometers, 500 meters. That is the SI unit I want to talk about. Now, these particular people sat down in 1971, and they are French. This conference basically took place in France in 1971. So these people came up with units of measurements. So they tried to measure some particular products, some particular items, and gave them the units. That is why we have 2 kilograms. That is why we have 1 meters. That is why we have 500 centimeters. So those particular things are referred to as units of measurements. So we have derived and basic quantities. Derived and basic quantities. Before we move there, so we want to talk about this and say international system of units abbreviated as SI. Is abbreviated, sorry, is abbreviated as SI. Is abbreviated as what? SI. That is why you'll hear about SI unit. SI unit. Example of an SI unit. Example, we have 10 meters. We have 2 seconds. So those are examples of international units. So in France, it is referred to as citeme, or pronounced as citeme, or written, e internationale de units. Just like that in France. In French, In French, Système International de Units. So they realized that this group of French scientists came up with a system where they could give items, where they could give measurements, certain units. And these units are referred to as International System of Units. So we have quantities given units, products. So let's say we have basic quantity. Quantity. So we have 2 categories of quantities. We have basic quantities and derived quantities. Now let us begin with basic quantity and see what are these basic quantities. And what are their SI units? That is what you need to understand about this particular lesson. So we have known that International System of Units was devised by a group of French scientists. So these scientists sat down in 1971 and realized that the weights of certain products, the measurements of certain quantities has to be given some names. And if it is 10 as a quantity, what can we give beside the 10? Can it be kilometers? Can it be meters? Can it be seconds? So that is what we want to learn about. So we have 2 categories of quantities. We have basic quantities. Now these are quantities, whose units can be defined without referring to other measurements. Yes, quantities whose units can be defined without referring to what? To other measurements. Now, we realize that there are some quantities that we look at them and we realize that they are 2, they are 10, they are 1 million, they are 10,000. We do not refer to other measurements in order for us to find them. So defined, they are already known, they are already stated. We don't need to refer to other measurements. Now, something like, say, density. We cannot easily say that the density is 2 kilogram per meter cubic. No, we cannot say that. We cannot say that the density is 5 kilogram per cubic meter. We cannot say that. But rather, we will calculate for us to find what? To find density. How about when you want to know the temperature? When you want to know the temperature, you just place your thermometer under your tongue or under your armpit or on your armpits, and then you look at the reading of the thermometer. If it is 37 degrees Celsius, you're gonna say that it is 37. There's no need, there's no energy wasted in calculating, in identifying, or rather finding out the measurements of the thermometer. But you would rather look at the thermometer reading and say this is 37 degrees Celsius. So that is a basic thing, the fundamental thing, the basic quantity. It does not need energy to look or find out the quantity, the unit. You are not going to use energy in finding out the units. So the units can be easily defined. Defining a unit without doing what? Referring to other measurements. So examples of basic quantities. So I would rather want us to have some table and say this is basic quantity. And then this is the SI unit. And this is the symbol. Remember, these units have got symbols. So I want us to divide it into that manner. Very good. So we have that table with us. So we have a table. We have a table of basic quantity. An example, we have SI unit. Remember, SI stands for International System of Units. So that is our main topic of today, the SI unit. So what are the basic quantities and what are their units and what are their symbols? So number one basic quantity is length. Length is very basic, very basic. So the SI unit of length is meter. Meter. Abbreviated or in symbol is M. M. Number two is mass. Mass of the product. You heard me talking about kilogram. So it therefore means mass SI unit is what? Kilogram. Kilogram. The symbol for kilogram is capital K, small g, or kg, whichever way. Still the same. And then we move to the third one. Let's talk about time. Time is also a basic quantity. Mass is a basic quantity. Length is a basic quantity. Time. Time is measured in seconds. I know you know that time is in hours, time is in meters, but I want you to stick to the SI unit, seconds. So it is the conference, the French scientists, remember, who came up and said, yeah, time should be measured in seconds. And therefore, we as scientists, we need to stick to them. And we usually check time. We know that seconds are also part of measurements of time. So from there, we move to temperature, which I mentioned. Temperature. Temperature. And we know that temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of an object or of a place. If the object is hot, that is temperature. If the object is cold, that is temperature. Yes, as well of a place. I know right now, wherever you are, you can easily tell the temperature of your condition. So temperature is measured in Kelvin with the symbol of K. Now the scientists came up with the measurements of temperature and said it is measured in Kelvin. There are other small or other units which I will mention later. There are other units. So we know that length is measured sometimes in centimeters, sometimes in kilometers, sometimes in millimeters. So those are some other measurements. But the international system came up with a standard measurement, a standard unit, and that standardized one is meters for length, kilogram for mass, seconds for time, Kelvin for temperature. Number 5. Let's move to number 5. Number 5. Number 5, we can talk about light intensity. Light intensity. Now the SI unit for light intensity is referred to as candela. The SI unit for light intensity is referred to as candela. The SI unit is CD, not the CD. I hope you're with me. Number 6, amount of substance. So substances can be measured, and there is a unit called mole. There is a unit called what? Mole. When you reach in Form 3 or grade 11, hopefully you will tackle a certain topic in chemistry. If you will take pure science as a pathway, STEM as a pathway, and you dive to pure science part, you will learn about mole in chemistry. Very interesting topic. I know most of the learners outside there who have finished their high school, if you ask them about moles, they will run away from you because they understand what moles is. But I want you to go for it. Have the energy. That which people say is hard or is difficult, kindly find a way on how you're going to absorb it. Yes, there's possibility. We are able. Let's be optimistic. Yes, we are thinking about tomorrow. So that which they are saying is very hard, is very tough. Remember to go for it. There is something behind it. Nothing comes easily or easy. So amount of substance, mole. So this is a very interesting topic in chemistry. And a student who shall have passed this particular topic and understood it well, that person cannot laugh anyhowly. He cannot make noise around people who are busy. He cannot joke and jump at a skelter here and there because he has something on the brain. Yes, that is one difference that you need to have. Now, this SI unit of mole is MOL. So this has an E, this has no E. All of them are written in small letters. Now, I'm not going to tell you the 7th one. And that will be an assignment for you. I would want you to have some interest on knowing this international system of units for the basic quantities. So I know a learner always go extra mile. So that is why I want you to give me the 7th. Identify the 7th basic quantity its SI unit and symbol. 3 marks. Yes, that is a question for you as a learner. Identify the seventh basic quantity, its SI unit and symbol. So this group of scientists identified some 7 basic quantities. That is why I have mentioned up to the 6th one. So I want you to go extra mile, find me the 7th basic quantity and the SI unit as well, the symbol of the 7th basic quantity. If you have any question, kindly ask at the comment section. We only have the 7 basic quantities, their SI unit and their symbol. So this particular section won't miss, whether in grade 8, whether in grade 7, whether in grade 9, this will come. Kindly check on it well, make sure you master this and you will be good to go. Thank you for listening. Good time.